I would write about his dying. When I was young, younger than I am now, I started to write about my own life, and I came to see that this act saved my life. When I heard about my brother's illness and his dying, I knew instinctively that to understand it, or to make an attempt at understanding his dying and to not die with him, I would write about it. Yeah, and it's sort of, so these are sort of some of the ideas that we were thinking through when Randall and I got together to design this program. So I'm going to let Randall explain a little bit, or tell you a little bit more about Willow Books and the Willow Arts Alliance, who we're co-presenting this program with, and then we're going to hear some poems from some wonderful poets and writers, and then we're going to open the mic up in the end for anybody who came with some poems that they wanted to read. So thank you for being here on this hot Friday night.
Thank you.
All right. So first of all, I want to say thanks to Holly for the space and being able to align with Willow to sort of partner and sort of be a part of this program. And so it's interesting because when you talk about injustices and things of that nature, Willow's is sort of comes out of that radical resistant tradition of traditionary ordinary press in that regard. And so early on, I think we've been together like 10 years. Our 10-year anniversary is in the spring, and so we're going to be here to celebrate that. But one of the reasons we started was because of the inadequacies in publishing, especially writers of color, right? And so that's been our sole mission for the last 10 years. And I helped run this with a woman named Heather Buchanan, who's in Detroit. This has sort of been some of the things that we've been sort of dreaming about in terms of making partners or alliances and doing things in other cities and things of that nature. We have some interesting titles. We're bringing out we really specialize in people of color. We have a lot of women coming out this year. Summer Cicada, which is a novel, and David Garvin, White Sons, and Other Stories from Hispaniola, right? So, check this out.
I chose these poems because of my mom. Once a week I sit with my mom for at least an hour and we have ritual time, mother-daughter ritual time. We have a flower bed in front of us, honey, sometimes wine, and we drink sparkling water to get the energy flowing. So these are dedicated to her because last week on our ritual, she expressed to me that she was fearful of me walking in the world as a black woman with all that's going on. So I chose these poems for her. Inherited hungers. Our grandmothers built houses in our bellies. We scraped the bottom of our stomachs, searching for latches and keys. Stretched our eye holes, looking for entrances and exits. Our bodies, thresholds for suffering. Our skin, bone coverings draped over skeletal frames, perpetual in their leaning. We are property owners, holders of deeds, inheritors of the burden of the hungers of men. Oil-tipped fingers of greedy men try to stretch and reach down our female throats for access to our becoming. Girl child ain't safe in dark bedrooms, till she learns how to file her teeth sharp like wolfkin, till she learns how to dip her fingernails in nightshade and hemlock during tucking in time. No matter how tight cotton sheets are pulled, their flaps loosened when tugged by unwelcomed hands. When the moon is full, pregnant and carrying high, we crack the windows, looking for a ledge to hang our prayers on. One of these nights, our holy will lead towards our feet.
So thank you for having me. Familiar faces? Saving the palimpsests. Palimpsest is a manuscript that's been written over and over again, and you can see the writings from over the years. Saving the palimpsests. I twist and tear the stems of weeds as I wait for my daddy to return. Each evening, there are more. If I could summon the soft, hot lightning of fireflies I used to run through, or know how daddy's petals began kneeling in his window box garden, I might not fight the weeds. Daddy used to speak of painters over cast iron pans and his leftovers. He said every painted storefront sign was an ode. I want to tell him I can't fight the smoke, I can't fight the pleased strangers who smile at me the way one might when hearing the hum of blood rushing in his or her ear and confuse it for the ocean calling them back. I can't save Thea's mural of Jesus and his cross. Side by side, both have fallen away from the brick. The excavator rumbles and competes with the cock, throwing itself into mourning. Before Daddy packed, he told me that I am not a swan nor a heron, but a crane. They fly with their necks straight, belong somewhere other than here, but speak up, and to be heard we must testify.
Cambodia, during the years of 1975 to 1979, there was a genocidal regime that took place called the Khmer Rouge, and they forced everyone from the city into the countryside, into forced labor, into the rice fields. And nearly 2 million people died as a result. So this kind of takes place there, it's back and forth. It's called No Radio. 1. Sin Si Samut Khmer poster boy, resonating tenor of every residence off rooftops, on radios, a voice that chilled and warmed, beloved iconic face decapitated, pasted over bodies in posters. 2. My father's lost at Gun Hill Road in the Bronx. A voice interrupts my day, sprays 60 surf rock from the dashboard, a Cambodian riding the radio waves. I mean, this was the most famous singer in Cambodia. 3. Post-Exodus Cambodia, 1975, 2 soldiers looked over the singer, his palms pressed together in greeting. He is asked to sing something, but muzzled by rattling AK-47s echoing across hills. Children are playing soldier. Fetuses ripped from wombs dangle in nearby trees. Yet he opened his mouth and a flood of love melodies poured out. 4. An online friend revived Bokwari Estro over hip-hop instrumental. No one knows what happened to him. It's said that the Khmer Rouge made him sing before they shot him. 5. The stench of the unburied transmit across towers of bones.
So here we go. Totem. Sorry, this one is, okay, it's a lot. Short. Totem. Give me the hand, all of its smallest desires, its need to coil the cock, its small crude need. At night, I am quite the architect. My hand rests at the center of my body and a city rises, or rather, only a monument, a lone obelisk in the midst of a field, a man at its worship, a woman to polish the stone statue. A village in my mind watches how this is my form of demonstrating power, this horrid pleasure, the dig a creature of brief primal delight in the way the hand totes the body's totem as if it were a rifle, this new weapon to end some old country and to breed a new one. My many thousands of children are in palm, exposed to air, death to my sons, death to my daughters. Hitler must have masturbated every time a gun made a kind of wildfire. Wildflowers blossoming at the gate of men who wish only to father a dead nation, a nation to which equality is only fantasized in some wet dream. And of the many ways of spawning joy, why'd we choose any motion that teach us how to only pull back the body and shoot?
Dirt smells like pushing and pulling mahogany-hued backs to the coast, to the 200-ton Dobson, traveling 3 moons and landing face first on the eastern shore. Dirt smells like packing poultice on backs whipped till bleeding and sowing fallow fields. Dirt smells like brushing the dust from a cotton shift, ripped and torn, stained, hair with twigs after rolling and tussling with a larger body between tobacco rolls, crumbling to the ground, subdued and sullied, smells like dirt. Dirt smells like sweeping a house with no floor. Dirt smells like sleeping under a spruce, owls hooting, the old man's beam shining down. Dirt smells like come morning, digging sweet potatoes or carrying in pockets, patched onto a brown woolen dress. Dirt smells like following rivers through sliding banks, leaving footprints in knee-deep tracks. Dirt smells. Dirt smells like scuffling with cattails and code, mounding the dark richness into a grave. No markers left for identifying. Dirt smells like borrowing a hole for a day's sleep, crawling a tunnel to a waiting ladder, pushing through leaves and moss and not looking back. Dirt smells like foraging for berries and nuts under the last snow. Dirt smells like kissing the ground, long last and
Though it seems as if one aesthetic borderlines to another in danger of being boundaried, you as in pristinely you were stowed away in that place that isn't a place more than vision could see, to touch, to try. It became taboo, your image illegal and ungovernable and radical, like someone said. This mode of communication we string together, it doesn't equal us. And you oh so crazy and blinded by time, the same tawny fields, the flowing streams man-made. We bought into conscripted ideals. We say in that place whose name is merely a phantom of dead letters, the landmarks daily changing, as if to get lost, to find our way back to nowhere, and to understand a body in 1,000 standing mirrors memorializes the corridor, and nothing can erase what we saw the real you in one fleeting moment, as the day before and almost the day after will never construct itself again. This omen we had to keep asking ourselves over, and the simplicity of an act, the casual step-aside glance, and the first minute of a new day. There you were, there knowing all we had to do.
Didn't do her any justice. So at night, she paraded through the park without an inch of fabric touching her skin. "Damn," he said. "Thank you." She looked up, but they had already passed. Clothes didn't do her any justice. So she lay in bed in the buff, so he would have no problem finding her. She walked through the streets under the cover of night, blending in with the soil and wind. Clothes didn't do her any justice. So she placed a slim twig behind her ear and a bunch of leaves in her unruly hair. She walked with a sprite in her step, her hips slightly swaying. He only thought about how she appeared from behind, and she, unclothed, fell into his open arms. Clothes didn't do her any justice. So she walked the streets in a cloak that she took off in the middle of a nearby forest. Leaning against an age-old tree, she waited for light to arrive. Light as in the rising sun, light as in her beloved, who loved her as she was, climbing trees, sitting on a limb, flowered. When her beloved came, she rubbed her hand over her smooth belly, and he reached out and touched her. Gently at first. Brown were their bodies, black was their hair, white was their teeth. But for now, their colors were irrelevant. The trees provided a canopy, the crescent moon a sliver of light. He provided ancient songs, she provided her voice. An invisible sound meant to touch him and her on their inside parts. She refused clothes because of this mandate and was mostly found at home, touching herself, making sure she was all